They say betrayal doesn't always come with proof. Sometimes it's just a feeling that won't let you sleep. She said she wasn't cheating. But every time she smiled at her phone, something inside me broke. I wasn't jealous. I was just witnessing love slowly leaving me. They say betrayal doesn't always start with a kiss. Sometimes it starts with a silence that grows louder every day. I used to think cheating meant proof, messages, or lipstick on a shirt. But when it happened to me, there was nothing to see. Just a feeling that refused to leave. I remember sitting on the couch one night, phone in my hand, staring at her name on the screen. Elira, my wife. My best friend, my world. She hadn't replied in hours. And it wasn't the first time. The messages had gone from paragraphs to one-word answers. The calls had turned into, "I'm busy. I'll call you later." Told myself not to overthink it. But sometimes, the heart catches what the mind refuses to admit. I could feel her slipping away, quietly, beautifully, like smoke through fingers. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. That work had her tired, that she needed space. But deep down I knew. You always know. There's a shift in the way they say your name, a delay in their laughter, a distance in their eyes that no longer mirrors yours. I told myself love means trust, but what happens when trust starts feeling like denial? Every time she smiled at her phone, I smiled too, pretending I didn't notice, because admitting what I suspected felt like tearing down my own home. That's the cruel part about betrayal. It doesn't hit you like thunder. It drips on you like rain, one drop at a time, until you're drenched in disbelief. And maybe that's why I'm telling this story, not to make you hate her, but to remind you that silence can be its own kind of confession. If you've ever looked at someone and felt love turning into a lie, then you'll understand what I went through. So before I tell you how I found the truth and how karma found her, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. Because what happened next changed everything I believed about love, trust, and forgiveness. Before everything fell apart, there was us, me and Elira, and a kind of love that felt too flawless to ever break. It's strange how clearly I still remember the first time I saw her. She wasn't trying to stand out. She just did. There was something about the way she looked at the world, like she could see stories hidden in ordinary things. We met at a friend's small rooftop dinner. The night was easy, warm, full of laughter and soft music. She spoke about art, books, and the way colors could change your mood. I was captivated not just by her words, but by how alive she seemed. When she laughed, it wasn't the polite kind of laughter people use to fill silence. It was real, loud, and beautiful. I remember thinking, if that sound could be bottled, I'd never need music again. Our love grew fast, but not the reckless kind. It was quiet, steady, like a sunrise you could trust to come back every day. We moved in together after a year, a small apartment filled with light, messy sketches, and her endless half-drunk cups of coffee. She'd paint near the window while I worked on my laptop. Sometimes she'd turn around and catch me watching her, and I'd pretend I wasn't. She'd smile knowingly. And for that moment, the world felt like it belonged to just us. I thought we had something untouchable, the kind of connection that storms couldn't shake. And maybe that's why the distance, when it came, hurt so much, because you don't expect forever to start fading. Looking back, I wonder if the cracks were always there, small and silent, waiting for time to widen them. Maybe we were too perfect, too intense, too certain that love alone would protect us. But love doesn't break suddenly. It unravels quietly, one thread at a time. Before I noticed her drifting, I was still lost in the memory of how tightly we once held on. How her laughter once filled every empty space in me. I didn't know it then, but forever was already ending. It didn't happen all at once. Love rarely dies in a single moment. It fades slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize you're living beside a stranger who still knows your favorite coffee, but no longer asks how your day was. With Elira, it started small. Missed calls, short messages, late nights that used to be hours, now belonged to her work. I remember sitting at the table, dinner getting cold, watching the clock tick past midnight. When she finally walked in, she smiled, that practiced smile people wear when they're hiding something. She said she was exhausted. I believed her. I wanted to. But exhaustion doesn't make you glow when your phone lights up. It doesn't make you laugh softly at a message you never show. I tried to ignore it, told myself I was just being insecure. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You protect their lies like they're truths you owe them. I started noticing little things, her perfume changing. Her phone always turned face down, the way her eyes no longer met mine when I spoke. We'd sit together, side by side, but her mind was somewhere else. I could feel it like a ghost between us. The silence grew heavier with each day. Sometimes she'd catch me staring at her and ask what. I'd just smile and shake my head. What could I say? That I missed her, even though she was right in front of me. That I could feel her heart walking away every time she looked at that screen. I told myself love is about patience. That if I waited long enough, she'd come back to me. But deep down, I already knew. Patience can't fix what honesty has already left behind. I started sleeping on my side of the bed, facing away. It felt less painful than pretending everything was fine. And in that quiet, lonely space between us, I realized something. You don't need proof to know you're being replaced. Sometimes, you can just feel it. It's strange how the words "just a friend" can sound so harmless until they don't. The first time Ilira mentioned him, she said it so casually I almost missed it. "Kale," she said, "he's just a friend from work. We're collaborating on a design pitch." I smiled, said, "That's nice," and went back to what I was doing. But something about the way she said his name lingered, the softness in her voice, the spark behind her eyes. She hadn't spoken about anyone like that in months. Over the next few weeks, his name became part of her sentences. Kale said this. Kale helped with that. Kale thought it'd be funny if I laughed along, pretending I wasn't dying a little each time. She started staying out late, just finishing a project. I tried to be supportive. I didn't want to be that husband, the jealous one. But every night she came home later, smelling of new perfume, that distant glow in her face, the kind that doesn't come from work. I asked once, gently, "You and Kale, you seem close." She smiled, almost pitying me. "Aaron, don't start. He's just a friend. You really need to stop overthinking everything." And with that, she ended the conversation, like my feelings were an inconvenience. But the thing about intuition, it doesn't wait for proof. It screams quietly in your chest, telling you that love has competition now. I started noticing things, her phone lighting up at midnight, the way she'd tilted away when I walked by. Her laughter came easier with him in her messages than it did with me in the same room. And when she kissed me goodnight, it felt rehearsed, almost polite. She said I was paranoid. That hurt more than anything else. Because I realized the moment someone calls you paranoid for noticing what's changing, they're already gone. That night I lay awake, her phone screen flashing every few minutes. And for the first time in years, I didn't reach out to hold her hand. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from pretending. That's what our house felt like. Quiet but heavy. Like the air itself knew we were lying to each other. Ilira started working late almost every night. She said deadlines were piling up, clients demanding changes. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something inside me had already stopped buying her stories. That little voice, the one we all ignore in the name of love, it kept whispering, "Look closer." One evening, she left her laptop open on the table. My hands shook when I saw it. Not because I wanted to spy, but because I didn't trust what I'd find if I did. So I didn't open it. I walked away. But that restraint didn't give me peace. It gave me torment. Because the unknown hurts more than the truth. Days turned into weeks, and her presence turned into an echo. She was there, but not with me. Her eyes had that faraway look that kind people get when they've already left but haven't told you yet. Then one night she said she was going to a late client dinner. I nodded, pretending I didn't notice the way her voice cracked a little. Hours later, I couldn't sleep. I checked her location, something I'd never done before, and there it was. Not the restaurant she'd mentioned, but a quiet street across town. I stared at the glowing map on my phone until my hands went cold. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was everything. But in that moment, I felt the truth pressed down on my chest so hard I could barely breathe. I didn't call her, didn't text. I just sat there, waiting for the sound of her key turning in the door. And when she finally walked in at 2:43 a.m., smiling faintly, smelling of someone else's cologne, I knew she didn't need to confess. Her silence did it for her. That's the thing about a gut feeling. It's never loud, but it's always right. The night everything broke didn't start like a storm. It began quietly. Too quietly. Alira came home late again, humming softly under her breath, pretending nothing was wrong. But her perfume lingered too long. Her smile lasted too little. And when she kissed my cheek, I swear I felt guilt in the way her lips trembled. I'd reached my limit. That kind of quiet pain, it eats you alive, piece by piece, until your chest feels too small for all the questions you've swallowed. I couldn't do it anymore. So I asked, not in anger, not an accusation, just tired honesty. Alira, is there someone else? She froze mid-step. Didn't even look surprised, just annoyed. Seriously, Aaron? Not this again. Her voice was sharp, defensive, like I'd caught her mid-lie. I saw the location last night, I said softly. You weren't at the restaurant? She blinked, then laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You checked my phone? You tracked me? Her tone cut through me. She made me feel like the villain for noticing she'd stopped being my wife. I'm not the one hiding, I said quietly. That's when she lost it. She slammed her bag on the table, shouting, You don't trust me. You never do. The words hit harder than I expected. I'd trusted her more than I trusted myself. I stood there, calm, but shaking inside, and whispered, Trust doesn't mean closing your eyes to what's right in front of you. And then she slapped me. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to end something. The sound echoed through the room, followed by her tears, her apologies that didn't sound like apologies. I didn't shout back. I didn't break anything. I just looked at her, really looked, and saw the truth sitting in her eyes, unspoken and undeniable. She grabbed her keys, stormed out, and the door slammed shut behind her. And in that echoing silence, I finally understood. Sometimes love doesn't die quietly. Sometimes it explodes. And you're left standing in the smoke, wondering if any of it was ever real. After she left that night, I just stood there. The air still smelled like her perfume, a scent I used to love, now turned sour with memory. The clock ticked on, slow and cruel. Every sound in that apartment reminded me she was gone. But the strangest part? I didn't cry, not yet. I was too numb for tears. The next few days were a blur. No calls, no messages. Just silence. It's strange when someone breaks your heart. You still find yourself checking your phone, hoping they'll fix it. I kept glancing at that black screen, waiting for her name to flash. It never did. Then, 3 days later, a message came, not from her, but from a number I didn't recognize. The text read, You don't know me, but I think we both deserve the truth. It was from Kale's girlfriend. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My hands went cold. She sent screenshots, late-night messages between Kale and Alira, words I'd never seen her say to me in years, promises of a future, whispered secrets. Heart emojis, sent at 2 a.m., there it was, everything I'd felt, but couldn't prove. Laid out in front of me like a confession carved in pixels. I didn't feel anger. I felt empty, like someone had taken the floor out from under me. I sat there, staring at the screen, and said nothing for a long time. Later, I deleted every photo, every memory that still had her smile in it. Not out of hate, but because I couldn't bear to look at the woman who'd loved me once and lied to me later. I packed her leftover things into a box, taped it shut, and left it by the door. No goodbye, no message, just silence the same way she left me. As I dropped her wedding ring into the river that evening, it caught the light once before sinking. That's when I finally cried, not because I'd lost her, but because I'd finally stopped pretending I hadn't. Months passed. Seasons changed. And somewhere in that long stretch of silence, I started breathing normally again. I didn't realize how much weight I'd been carrying until it wasn't there anymore. There was peace now. Quiet, unforced peace. The kind that doesn't need explanation. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece. Woke up early, made coffee for one, learned to enjoy the stillness. The ache didn't vanish overnight, but it faded like an old scar that stops aching when the weather changes. Every morning felt a little lighter than the one before. Then one afternoon, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed. Her name, Elira, on the screen. For a moment, my stomach dropped the way it used to when I still loved her. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Her message was short. I just wanted to say, "I'm sorry. You were right." Stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. A few seconds later, another message arrived, a longer one this time. She wrote that Cale had left her, that he'd found someone else, that she finally understood what it felt like to be lied to. She said, "I thought I was in love, Aaron, but it was just excitement. You were the only person who ever saw me completely, and I destroyed that." For the first time, I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel satisfaction either. Just closure. The universe has its own timing, and sometimes karma doesn't come crashing down. It comes quietly, wrapped in regret. I typed a reply, something simple like, "I hope you heal." But before sending it, I deleted it, because some things are better left unsaid. I turned off my phone, stepped outside, and watched the sunset. For the first time in a long while, it didn't remind me of her. It just looked beautiful. And in that moment, I finally understood I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her apology. I just needed to let go. Because sometimes karma doesn't punish, it teaches. And when it does, peace is the only answer left. It's strange. After everything that happened, I don't hate her. I thought I would. I thought anger would be the only thing left when love finally burned out. But standing here now, months later, I feel nothing but calm. Like the storm passed, and all that's left is the sound of rain fading in the distance. I used to replay our memories every night, wondering where I went wrong. Now, I understand sometimes love isn't lost because we failed. It's lost because the other person stopped choosing us long before we realized it. And no amount of holding on can save something that's already halfway out the door. Elira was a chapter of my life. A painful one, yes, but also a necessary one. She taught me that love without honesty is just a beautiful lie wearing a promise ring. And I guess that's what betrayal really is. Not just the act, but the slow death of truth between two people. When I think of her now, I don't feel bitterness. I feel gratitude. Because losing her showed me who I was when everything fell apart, and who I became after. Stronger, wiser, free. People talk about karma like it's revenge, but I don't see it that way anymore. Karma isn't about watching someone else fall. It's about watching yourself rise after they tried to break you. It's about realizing peace is the best kind of payback. If you've ever been through something like this, if you've ever looked at someone you loved and realized they were already gone, I hope my story reminds you of this. You can survive the silence. You can rebuild from the ashes. And one day, you'll wake up and realize it doesn't hurt anymore. Because love doesn't always end in hate. Sometimes it ends in understanding. And if you found even a little bit of that peace tonight, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. Because truth after love is where healing begins.